Okay, hello there, traders. Hello there. Welcome back to TOGS 53, trading with constraints. It's all about when you have multiple accounts but limited time. So, how do you make progress when time, energy, and attention are in short supply? So, it is TOGS 53. It is also the last of season 3, but more of that later. So. Um, Trading with constraints, right? Most traders believe that freedom equals success, but the reality is that discipline under constraint is what actually helps you build mastery. So whether it's juggling multiple accounts or day jobs or business or family life or caring for parents, okay, effective private traders, they work within the limits, right, rather than trying to fight them. So in this episode, myself and Ian will explore how to operate intelligently when your time, attention, or margin is restricted, okay, and how to use constraints as a focusing tool rather than as an excuse. More of that later. So, as always, I am joined, okay, in our conversation by Big Ian there in Dublin. Looking good, Billy Ray. How are you doing?
I'm sick as a small hospital, to be quite honest with you. Yet again, I think I caught something. I was over in Norway last week in
Yeah.
Oslo, and I think I caught something on the way back. Or we had a party here Friday night. Friday night. And one of the guests had the flu, and so turned up. Thank you for that. And so we're all sick 2 days later, and I sort of got the worst dose of it. So naturally, I kept working when I shouldn't have been working. I mean, it ended up being a profitable week and all that sort of stuff. Like, but when I should be on the couch, I tend to be in front of the screen, basically, just in
It's
case I
almost as
miss
if you've got
something or
workaholic tendencies, Ian.
yes,
Almost as
yeah,
if you've got workaholic tendencies.
just awful, awful stuff.
So,
And
how was other than that? How was Norway?
it was all right. It was mostly going to museums. My wife is over. She's a curator of shiny things, and well, she's changed her job now at the moment, as in what she's going to be the curator of. So we went over to. She was going to a conference for um, modern design curators, and so we went along with her basically. So I spent most of the time on with my son. We saw two museums a day, and my son came up with a new little song which went two museums and one death mart, do da,
Right.
because we
Right.
went to yeah, so we went to lots of museums, and that was basically it. That was my whole experience of Oslo. I mean, I paid 13.50 for a pint someplace. That sort of
So even a pint.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I did tell you. I did tell you. You know, you're going to have to take
yeah,
out a small
yeah,
mortgage if
yeah.
you wanted to go to the pub and have a couple of pints and stuff and
Well,
what have
yeah,
you. You
I
know,
don't tend to drink when I travel anyway because I don't know what's the point of having a hangover in a different country unless you're at like a beach holiday or something, and when I go to the beach in the summertime or something, I'm happy enough. But in that kind of thing where you're death marching the next morning through museums, um, there's
that's
no
fair
point
enough.
in having a big
Now,
scuffle through.
talking of alcohol, which is it's not the thrust of this session, but is a recurring theme. Listen, we always appreciate the kind of messages that we get from listeners. It clearly shows that people are listening and stuff. So I got a message the other day from Ollie saying that he was currently enjoying a very good Lebanese wine called Said Syrah blend, which I might have got wrong. All right. He said that it would be fun to discuss with Ian, okay, and hear his thoughts on that. Okay. So as a little quick segue, all right, what are your views on Lebanese wine, Ian?
Well, the only one I'm familiar with, basically, because Lebanese wine, since I left the wine trade, Lebanese wine, as far as I know, has come on quite a bit. There was only the one. There was Serge Hakkar who did Chateau Moussard, and I'm only doing this out of my memory. And he was all there through the Civil War. There were tanks literally in his vineyard
Yeah.
during while he was harvesting his grapes. Apparently, he was Decanter Man of the Year 10, 15 years ago. It's a kind of it's a red, slightly spicy wine. He tends to hold on to it for a couple of years. So you tend to you get older vintages of it. It's about €40. I tend to buy it occasionally if we're having Lebanese food. That's basically the whole lot of it. But the whole rest of Lebanese wine, I really don't know that much about it now, if I was really quite honest with you. It's because that overtook everything, and I think it's like when I was when the wine trade, there was, if you talked about Lebanon, you had Musar, and that was basically it. But I'm sure that they have, winemaking has come on so much in the last few years, and then regressed a little bit by all these natural wines and stuff, but and orange wines and low intervention winemaking and all this kind of thing. Like, but so off the top of my head, without any preparation, that's everything I know about Lebanese
Put you
wine.
on the spot, put you on the spot and stuff. Well,
And Somali wine.
you clearly know much more than me. I can add nothing on Lebanese wine, but Lebanese food I do have a love for because
Mm,
I spent a lot of the
mm,
'90s, and we're probably showing our vintage here. I spent a lot of the '90s, well, 3 summers in the '90s in Cyprus with the Air
mm,
Force on armament practice camps and stuff. And of
mm,
course, there had been the Lebanese civil war in the '80s, and loads of
mm,
people had left Lebanon and moved to Cyprus and stuff. And so Limassol, Cyprus was just full of Lebanese restaurants and stuff. There was a
mm,
place called the Beirut Cafe off the Limassol Strip and stuff, which was absolutely fantastic. And I started a love there for Lebanese food and stuff. But that was, geez, I was just thinking
mm,
that's like 30
mm.
years. That's like 30 years ago and stuff.
I
So
know it's terrible when you start thinking of those terms. But
I
no,
know,
it's
isn't it? I know.
something we eat a lot of here, actually, to quite honestly. It's because it suits everything. Because my wife's vegetarian, and my son would eat hummus with a shovel if he could do it.
All right, well there you go. But there you
Yeah.
go.
So.
Anyway,
Mm,
this is not the food and drink
mm,
podcast. Once again, that
mm,
is a very different podcast for the Togs lads to deliver. We're all
mm,
about trading with constraints. So of course, we both operate under constraints of different types.
mm.
So what are your own thoughts, Ian? What's your own experience been about trading when you've got multiple accounts but limited time?
Well, you can absolutely do it. So basically, I just took the idea that somebody was working full time in an ordinary 9 to 5 office job, and could they trade full time? And I think that it's not only can they do it, is that I think that that's a normal progression step, because most traders don't, suddenly come into a huge amount of money and then go pro. And most retail traders don't go to, prop house, hedge fund, or something like that, and then come out and be pro. In fact, I don't even think that that works for them that well a lot of the time, because there's a transition, between one thing and the
Yeah,
other. You don't always have the same equipment as well. Um, so it's a part of the process. It's a part of the experience, working full time with constraints. And even in my own life, because I basically do house husbanding, and I have constraints. I mean, I won't be here during the cash session today. Um, I have an errand to run with my son, so I have to bring him. I have to go to school and collect him early, and bring him out for a couple of hours. And and the great thing about it is that you're paid for the risk. You're not paid to watch it,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. Wise
So
words.
so that's what makes it possible. You can basically do a lot of your, excuse me, you can do a lot of your preparation in the morning time.
Hmm.
Um, and then a lot of it comes down to what's your job like. I mean, I worked in a wine shop for a couple of years, and I could have done anything in there. And I basically started a small business working in a wine shop, because I had oodles of time, so I could do all the research that I needed to do, and I could
Yeah.
find out everything I needed to find out. And you know, there was, and then I worked in office environments where I wouldn't have had a massive amount of time. And then you have the other thing, like, you're on your computer. In the office I worked in, the last time on the computer, they could see your screen, so they mightn't be too particularly happy with you, you
Yeah.
know, checking into your charts. And
Exactly.
then I was thinking about that as well, is that, it can actually be an advantage, because one of the things that a lot of people do is screw with their trades. Where if you go in the morning at the start of the London Open or something, and you put your trade on in the morning, and put in your stops and your target, and you don't have a chance to look again, maybe to check it on your phone till lunchtime, you know, that's great in its own way, because it means that you are now committed to that trade. You're not going to do something else. You're not going to screw the pooch somewhere. So I don't think it's always the worst thing in the world.
Agree.
Yeah, it's some people though look at trading like Like they're going to make this quickly enough, make this side income in the same way as somebody goes out and learns how to make dream catchers and sells them on Etsy. That's not going to be the same. It's not the same thing.
Once
This
again,
is
we're
more
getting
comp.
another insight into your into your home life.
I buy a lot of stuff on Etsy.
Is that the
I
stuff?
yeah,
Is that what
yeah.
you've got behind you? Did you make that yourself there? Did you there, Ian?
I don't know who made that actually.
Halloween.
That just shows you how efficient
I
we are
thought
in
there
our.
was an advert for your Etsy shop.
No, no, no. I get a lot of stuff made on Etsy. Like I got shirts and everything. I just buy them off Etsy because they're made for you and they're cheaper, and it's quicker. I don't have to leave the house again to do something stupid like go all the way into Louis Copeland's in town or something and buy a shirt. Where I have two women that are on Etsy and I just send me a half dozen black shirts, please, and they'll just send you a half dozen black shirts.
Right, fair
Built
enough.
for you. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm quite
Fair
happy
enough.
with that. Yeah, basically.
But you are right that that there's a case of I think some people sometimes see it as a constraint or they use it as an excuse when
Mhm.
actually when it's done properly it can well be something that helps you focus, a tool for you to focus your time and energy more so than kind of using it as an excuse not to do it stuff. And interestingly, I was having this same conversation with a kind of like Irish trader this week and stuff about, who in a similar position to yourself, right? Similar position to yourself, okay. Is the kind of is the house husband and stuff, and looking after the son and what have you. And there is
Mhm.
always kind of an excuse or something going on and what have you, and then kind of like flipping the mentality from it being rather than it being an excuse or what have you, but rather than actually just using it as a tool to focus and prioritize, etc. So yeah, and you're absolutely right because I see lots of people who want to trade during their day job. They've got a day job. They go into an office even still these days, and then they've got their iPad on the side of them trying to trade whilst they're doing the day job. And they're always a bit surprised when I tell them that that is normally a pretty foolish idea. It's a pretty rubbish idea. In the uh, in the words of my spirit animal Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation, never never half-ass two jobs, whole ass a single job and stuff and what have you. We like to think we can multitask, but actually we're nowhere near as good at it as we think. And also, if you're in an employed job, all right, just do your job. In the same way you need to do your job as a trader, do your job, all right. I can't imagine too many bosses walking around the office would be happy seeing you, you know, hammering the cash session on the Nasdaq and stuff whilst you're trying to, I don't know, do whatever you do in corporate land these days. Normally, sort of kind of filling in petitions or forms or doing your diversity training, all that kind of important stuff. But but anyway, yeah, so
Mhm.
it is part of it is about I would say is firstly it's about clarifying your mission, right? Why are you doing this? What are you doing for? Okay, what is your objective? Are you trading? Are you at a stage of your career where you're looking for income, where you're trading for growth, or whether you're just simply trading for skill? To build your skills and let that start to shape your decision. Okay, is the kind of top level, and then start to filter down from that. Accept you can't do everything. You might like to think so, you can't. So you have to kind of just prioritize. You have to make decisions, right? What kind of time can you ring fence? What are the kind of markets and methods that actually fit your particular style, and use that constraint to help you focus on doing productive work rather than arsing around for want of a better technical term and stuff and what have you. You have to make it work for you, don't you?
You do, and I think an awful lot of people who go into trading would be much better off, particularly if they're young, would be much better off in reality investing. It's
Mm.
because it's something I didn't understand, and I think it's that people want the return and they want the return now. And I don't think that when you're 25, or 23, you're not thinking about that future time where if you had bought the S&P and put in X amount of money every time you had a correction in it, that you would now be sitting on a multiples of your initial investment and be looking forward to quite a comfortable and happy retirement, and including making your tax man quite happy. So I think investing is something that, people, and depending on the type of job you have, that investing is something that people, especially when they're 20, 25, should be looking at. I think it's a huge, big, a huge thing. It's one of the things I have to say, which I thought about, which I see with a lot of people when they're learning to trade, because the first couple of years are going to be bouncy anyway. They're not going to be great. Whether you're working or you're full-time or whatever, if you're a full-time trader, somehow you have the money to be a full-time trader. The first couple of years are not going to be that simply that easy. So one thing I think you have to do is evaluate the support in your life, because the problem that you're going to have is that you're going to have wife, girlfriend, mammy, daddy, and they're all going to look at you doing something which they categorize as risky, because it is. It's they're going to categorize it as being risky, and they're going to see you in pain. They're going to see you soak up time, soak up money, soak up energy, and be returned with failure and, dare I say it, a little tear from time to time. And they don't want to see you in, like any wife, girlfriend, pain, whatever, don't want to see you in pain. And we'll try and counsel you out of following your dream. So you have to know that that's something so you have to evaluate that's going to come down the line. And I've seen that with loads of guys that I've mentored over time, like, where they're up to they're working all the time. Their wife wants something else. They have lost money which could be used for more entertaining purposes, going for dinner or holidays or stuff like that, and they're being counseled out of it. So there is a solution for that, which is called shut up and just don't talk to them about it. Keep all your problems to yourself. That's the way to live life, I think. I think the only times that you need to,
like an Irishman.
well, that's why we invented whiskey, isn't it? Really, it solves all your issues. If you are actually gambling, if you have some sort of gambling problem, or you are losing significant amounts of money, where how you're going to pay your next gas bill, rent,
Yeah.
whatever this is coming in, then yeah, you need to look at maybe reaching out to other people. But mostly, you have to evaluate it. You have to know that they're going to be worried about you at some stage. It's to some people, it just looks like you've just taken up, jumping off cliffs with those wingsuits or something. It's not. And there's nothing that they're going to read is going to make them feel better. It's um, and they let you away with it for a certain length of time, but after a year or 2 years, and there's still no return, and you're still disappearing upstairs into your office for a couple of hours, and it's all going to come true. And if you have kids, then of course, it's going to take you away from your kids. If you are going to trade, like, I think I can do it relatively well. As in, if I wasn't in the office, you need to either have a huge amount of experience and have a really defined setup. So most of your decisions are made.
Yep.
Made. The setup has to have an edge, and it has to have quite a good edge, because one of the problems that I find with some of these things is that if you're back testing and you go and you look at some pattern, and you back test 100 occasions of it, and it's got an okay edge, but your job only lets you trade 35 of them. That can affect the edge, basically. So you need to have a really defined setup. A really easy setup. The two that I do a lot of the time, which is just the double top, double bottoms, 50s. They're all, they're easy, they're defined, they have a relatively good probability. They're not that difficult, and they work relatively well. So I do one of them. There's one of those every there's either one or two of those nearly every day. There's either a double top or double bottom, at least once in the during the day, or there's a 50. Not every day, but there'll be one of them every second day. Effectively, like when I back tested it, I did another back test recently, and that was what I was coming out with, that you were going to have one or the other
Yep.
during the day, and that's well enough. Um, I think you need to give your job the attention that your job needs as well, because you're not going to be making money out of trading, and you're not going to make you and you need that income, because the income takes the stress off you.
Totally.
But even if you're successful and you have a working setup, what you're going to end up having is you have to give your account time to grow. And that's one of the problems with turning pro, is that you're not going to turn pro on a $10,000 account. And the reason behind that is that for most people, it's much easier to make 40% of $200,000 and have an income out of that and pay your health insurance and your mortgage and your whatever else, than it is to make 800% out of $10,000. And you're better off you're better off to be um, trying to live from your income, and then let your trading account grow. Because if it does grow to a certain size, then there is really the possibility of you exiting, or if something goes wrong with your job, which is how I ended up getting into full-time trading, was that the company I worked for closed down. So I had some cash. I had been at it for a while, and decided in that period of enforced unemployment, really, that I was going to go, that I'd give it a go. And you know,
And here we
you
are.
know, Google closes up.
Uh,
Maybe that's a good way to start.
you are right in that the vast majority of private traders are undercapitalized, and think they are they might like to think they're trading for income, but the reality is they're undercapitalized and they're actually trading for growth. And so anything that can help you,
Mm.
namely having another source of income from a job or some work or business, etc., that allows you to basically to trade away without no extra pressure to basically to make rent, and also allow your account to compound and grow, is one of those things that can help you enormously. It's about, as I say, it's about turning it into a way for you to win. All right. And it's a case of yeah, find yourself a way to basically allow yourself to trade so that you're in a position to grow your account, rather than basically needing it for income to pay the bills, because that you're just adding additional stress onto your shoulders at a time when you don't need it. You don't need it whatsoever. And I think that part of that, I appreciate I'm circling back a little bit, is about it. And you mentioned it there, is I'd look at it about adapting your time budget in terms of basically designing a trading rhythm that fits with your real life. You might want to trade the open of the US cash session, but if you've got a job or if you're picking your kids up from school, whatever, the reality is it ain't happening. So you find a way to do it around those things. So I have one of my methods is literally is kind of the monthly, which is literally about 90 minutes on the first day of the month, and then about 15 minutes every day, just to basically update positions and add in and stuff. And so I trade lots of different ways, but it doesn't take that much and stuff, and it's kind of literally a way and a means to have engagement without actually having to do that much in terms of time and energy, etc. And so, if that's what you need to do at the moment, because of the stage of life you're at, where you might have, young family and a job, then that's what you have to do. All right. And you just look at it that, you're just trying to grow your account, you're trying to grow your skill set, you're trading to learn, not rather than trading to earn, and allowing that to guide you. All right. In terms of working. That having said that, I do know people who are in those situations of having day jobs and families, and they will still intraday trade, but it is around the time. So either they're very early in the morning, or they're kind of trading the American session after they've come home, right? The kids are sorted and what have you. They might trade like kind of the last hour or so of the American session, um, which is feasible. But then you have to also look at what are your energy levels like. If you've spent all day in a job and looking after family and stuff, do you really have the kind of, are you still sharp enough at sort of 7, 8 o'clock at night to be able to intraday trade with sustainable sustainable performance and such? So I think sometimes people try to do everything, or they try to launch themselves in to basically the kind of most aggressive style of trading. And you don't need to. You find a rhythm that fits your real life, that you can sustain, that you can actually work with, that doesn't put you under additional undue stress and pressure, because that just that's just not sustainable, is it?
No, 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 no. It's not, definitely not. And I know it myself because I get caught out with a lot of family stuff. Like at 4:10 is my school pickup time. So 4 days a week, 4 days a week, I am out of here at 4:10, and it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I have to stop there.
Yeah.
And like basically, what ends up happening then is that that affects you from about 3:20, because you can go into a trade. A lot of my trades don't last that long. I'm only looking for 5, 10 points a lot of the time. And so that could be quite relatively quick, but you can also get caught, and it could take you too long to get out of being caught. Um, and that all just feeds into slightly noise. One of the things I have this year, which I think is directly relevant, is I was on holidays twice this year with my telephone, and so I was there in the summertime, and I have a telegram room, and just kept in flooding in my trades into what trades I would have taken as they were coming up. So basically the same as I do now, but just on a telephone on the beach. And I found it not that hard, really, to be quite honest with you, because you're looking for two or three defined things. You're looking for your double top, double bottom. You're looking for a reaction to your double top, double bottom, and then you cannot be too exact. So one of the problems that you have with all this type of thing is that the less time you have, the less exact you can be, and that increases. And that's a problem that I think that some people have, is that I was explaining how to do a double bottom during the weekend to one of the guys, and one of the comments was, "There's enough room in that area for me to lose my account." And I was sitting there, like, going, "But sure, that means you're just trading too big," in the back of my head, or else you're very afraid of it. And that's two problems that have nothing to do with the actual trade. They've everything to do with the trader, and that's a thing, because you cannot be that exact and have no time. You can be more exact the more time you have. So, I can do a trade, maybe with some trades have a 2 point stop. I did one this morning, I think, with a 2 or 3 point stop or something. And then as soon as it went down 2 points, I moved it to break even, and because I wasn't 100% sure about it. And I had that taken out. Now, if I was on holidays and I was looking at that on a telephone and I was making the same determination and traded it, I'd have to use 5 to 10 points, because, it's much wider. Um,
And I suppose it just say that there's an element there, because we have talked about, we did previous sessions on AI, or previous sessions about using black boxes, etc. And both of us are still manual traders, in the sense of, we pull the trigger on our trades. But this is where actually technology can help you, in terms of, creating a checklist,
Mm.
using alerts, letting the tech manage the trade for you, whether it be an intraday trade, or whether you put your trade on in the morning and letting it run out through the day and stuff. So it's definitely a place within which we can we can endorse people using technology to help themselves in that sense.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Anything that helps you with it. I think in reality, for most people, especially when they're starting off, is I think swing is it's a much kinder, it's a much better way of going forward with it. And I find an awful lot of traders rebel against the idea of doing swing. Because they're there, oh, I'm only going to be making like 20, 30, 40% a year, and I want it now. And And that kills me sometimes when I'm listening to that, because I said it myself when I started off, I'm sure. And it's it's because it's swing teaches you everything, and it's all about skill. The whole game is all about skill. It's not about so much about return or anything like that. And especially in the first few years, it's all about just building up a skills base. And swing is possible. And if you were making 40, if you had your $10,000 account or whatever it is, or even $5,000 or whatever size account you have, if you're able to turn out 40% consistently, by the time you're white haired and have to wear glasses to read the instructions on the back of a packet of super noodles, you are going to be okay, you know?
And also funds would find you. All right. I
Oh
tell
yeah,
people like,
absolutely.
do your job well, and
Yeah,
funding will find you. Trust me
yeah,
about this.
yeah.
You'll never have a problem getting funding. All right.
No.
That's not a problem. But people make it a problem because, as you say, they want instant gratification, or they
Mm.
want it within 2-3 months and stuff. When in fact, actually, it's probably going to take you 2-3 years.
Yeah, yeah, because that is a really huge big thing that people don't really understand is that there is so much more money than there are traders.
Hmm.
Traders are rare. Money is plentiful. That's not even for myself. Like it walks in the door. It is. I don't want other people's money. I don't trade other people's money because I don't want their stress. I don't want
Yep.
someone ringing me up at 4:15 when I'm in the car on the way to the school going, blah, 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 blah. I want to live my own life and paddle my own canoe basically at the end of the time. But yes, if I was caught in the same situation and I had to start off, yeah, it's money will walk in the door. If you're exceptionally good at something, if you really are really quite good at day trading or something, that's
Yeah. That's
just there's no problem with it.
yeah.
I think one of the things as well which people rebel against as well when they're taken up is that how simple trading actually is if you let it be simple, because it is only the one decision every day, which is price going up, down, or sideways, and then getting the hell out of the way. So it's and it doesn't, it does more or less the same things because we're all trained the same way. It's just when they do it. I mean, you'll always get a double top or double bottom that'll work sometime, which is it's just when is really the question. There's
And I
one.
should say, ladies and gentlemen, that if you haven't already, there is a TOGS
Oh yeah.
bonus session available that Ian
Mhm.
and I talked about double tops and double bottoms. You should be able to find that on the YouTube channel and Spotify, because Spotify also has not the audio for the video. So
Mhm. Mhm.
it's something you want to watch really, because that, and also there is I did a little like follow up cheat sheet, okay, material which is on a kind of a school page so people can access it. So if you haven't done so, I recommend the listening to Ian talking about his double tops and bottoms. All right.
Mhm.
But yeah, my apologies. Just
Yeah.
interjecting there as we go.
And there's also a Telegram room where I specialize in just doing those two setups,
There is indeed. There is
basically.
indeed.
So
You're
that's what I
absolutely right.
do. So that's what I do most of the day. Just sitting around, I either scalp, I do a lot of scalping, um, or else I do like the bigger trades of the day or double tops, double bottoms. And actually, that's another great thing I was going to say is I was yesterday. There was a double top, and I was in the room and I saw the double top. And just to show you how life can be very real sometimes, and I'm because I'm a little bit sick as well at the moment. I just went, I'm too tired. I can't do that. And said, I can't do this trade. I'm too tired. And it went like 40 points or something. Um, which is nice. It's nice. It would have been a nice return, but I don't care. I'll get
Yeah.
something else today.
Another trade.
There's,
Yeah.
there's always another. There's always another trade. Like,
If you're on your chin strap, there's nothing to say. Even if it was a nice set, there's nothing to say that you're going to trade it or trade it well. If you're hanging onto your chin strap and stuff and what have you. So
no, it's not worth it.
But
No.
yeah, I think when it comes to like constraints and stuff, one of the other things you can help is making sure that you sort of embed accountability. Okay, so basically making sure that you're tracking your progress weekly, and not just your kind of your results, but also your processes and your ability to comply with your processes, etc. Because we all lead busy lives. I mean, look at this. We're in November already. Do you know what I mean? That this year has just flown by, and when everybody's got constraints and other stuff happening, before you know it, days, weeks, months, years can fly past and stuff. And so, embedding some accountability and tracking your progress in many ways is a good part to make sure that you're on the right path before you've lost 6 months and you realise you've gone if you've gone around and stuff and what have you. So and if you're using multiple accounts, because there will be people here watching this who do position trade and swing trade and intraday trade and scalp. My suggestion has always been that you have separate accounts for separate types of trading. Very often, people just have one account and just all the trading, regardless of whatever they're doing, in one account. And for your first couple of months, whilst you're just working out how to put a trade on and actually how to manage the platform, that might be fine. But actually, you are smarter to be able to basically have separate accounts, sometimes separate brokers, because actually sometimes the hard boundaries or the changes of colours can actually just help make sure that you are you're in the right frame of mind when you're doing the right kind of trading, and also sort of demonstrating the right particular behaviors and stuff. So you can also join either accountability group, or just find yourself an accountability partner, an accountability buddy that actually you can help yourself, help each other, just basically keep pushing forward when when life gets busy, or you forget about it, trading slips a bit and stuff. Having a little bit of an accountability buddy, if you don't want to form a coaching relationship, have an accountability buddy just to basically keep each other on the straight and narrow. I think that's all sort of kind of beneficial help as well.
Oh, I definitely think so. I think because it's the thing that I keep shouting about is accountability buddies with my own people, and it's I can't get them to do it. And I think it is just it's ego, and I think that they're afraid of being exposed a little bit when they're talking to somebody else and going, "Well, I'm having a problem with this or whatever," and it's such a load of nonsense, because at the end of the day, everybody has those exact same problems. The progression of a trader is almost universally the same. You
Yeah,
know, it's really only at the very end bit that it actually starts to diverge, where you get some guys who are really good and you get some guys who aren't really good, but they're all over a certain level. But until you get to that uh, regular profit making level, the progression is relatively all the same. Not necessarily in the same time frame, but the steps are the same. It just depends on, some people get some things really quickly, some people don't get some things really quickly.
so
And it's one of the
you're,
things as
you're
well.
absolutely yeah, you're absolutely sorry. Just to say, yeah, to back you up on that, in the interests of full disclosure, I do have a traders accountability group I run, but actually you're
Mm,
absolutely spot on, right? So those guys, um they maybe find it a bit uncomfortable for the first week or two, because they've actually got to talk about the trading and stuff. But actually, in a couple of weeks, they realize it helps them enormously. The feedback's always great, because actually that kind of accountability makes them
mm,
focus. It forces them to focus on making the best use of their time, their energy, and their resources, so that actually they do feel like, I am genuinely making progress here, rather than just spinning my wheels, or going
mm.
off in directions that they don't know what they don't know, so they don't even know if that is the right direction for them and stuff. So no, you're absolutely 100% right on that.
Even saying it out loud changes things.
Yep.
I think it's the same as, I can imagine those people who go to AA and sit there and go, "Hi, my name is Ian and I'm an alcoholic." I think that even saying that thing out loud, it will shift something in themselves, and
Yep.
and I think that makes a huge thing. And I try, like, I'm very happy for people in the Telegram room to post their trades regularly, because well, it encourages other people to do it, but it basically means, for the person who's a regular poster of trades, it is in its own way accountability, because they're putting themselves on the line. And it's even for myself, like, because I post a sizable amount of my own trades, like nearly all of my own trades, on, like, 90%, I'd say, of my own trades are probably I post on Telegram as I'm doing them live. And I find that sometimes is almost the more risky thing, is just try not to look like a fool.
Yep.
Um, and it adds to my own accountability, like, because I have to turn up. Um, and if I don't produce, then I look stupid. And
Yeah.
that's a bigger ego risk
Yeah.
than just
Yeah.
losing,
Exactly.
a couple of grand on a Tuesday afternoon or whatever it is. Like, so it's not a, so I find from that point, it's quite a good thing for me. Is that and also it forces me to look at myself. It really forces me, in posting my trades,
Oh,
forces me
yeah.
to, and I can see patterns. I could see that for the Monday and Tuesday of this week, like I was just really gimpy because I was sick and I should have been asleep, not trading. And I could see the little bits of mistakes and the little bits of whatever. But the thing is, I still made whatever. I still came out not a lot. I think it was like whatever. I can't remember what it was off the top of my
You
head.
don't realize,
Like
Ian, that's the
30.
problem. You're grabbing a few pips when you're feeling sick as a dog.
Yeah,
It creates the pathway in your brain. Oh yeah, I can just trade whatever, however I'm feeling, mate.
oh
We've
yeah,
had this conversation for 10 years.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, like probably on the way to the oven
That's right.
in the whatever.
I'll be saying this at your funeral as part of the
Yeah,
eulogy.
yeah, yeah. And it's a thing that I know it myself, and it's all based. It's all fear. But the thing is what I still find is that even when I was posting those trades, because there's one trade I went into where I got one day, did I get 20 points in it or something? And the next day anyway. But then I got out of it because I was too sick. I was sitting there, I was going, I can't sit here.
Yeah.
So I just exited the trade. I just wrote, I was too sick. Fuck this shit. I'm going home, type thing. And the next day I went in and did I have oh, I had one good loss the next day, and it was totally my own fault. Where I came down about 15, something like that, and that was because I really believed in that setup. I really thought that was, and it actually ended up working out, but not in the way I actually expected it to work out. It was a long, and I didn't expect it. I expected it to to come to a certain level and rebound from there. So I entered at the first, and I'll enter at the first one, and then I added the second level down, and then I expected it to rebound at least by the third, but it didn't. It actually broke it and then rebounded, which caused me to get stopped, which is unusual, but that's what happens sometimes. And so I had to spend the rest of the day scurrying to make back those points. And I think, did I do 80? Ended up red. I think it was like -7 or something. And then yesterday was, yesterday was just fun. It was really fun day because I felt okay and I felt fine. And I just went in and just bunked along and made points, you know. It wasn't especially hard. And then this morning I tried a 50, but I moved to break even really quickly because I didn't believe in it. And I just saw just before I came on here that I would have been stopped out with, but I would have been stopped out with break even. So it didn't cost me anything. And I think that's the happiest position in the world to be because you're in a trade that has a potential of going maybe 40 points and you're in a position where you can't lose any money. You know, it's a risk-free bet, and I think that that's the only thing in trading that you really want to get to is a risk-free bet because how far it goes doesn't matter. Does you have no control over that.
You're right there.
And but the only thing is that once you get to a risk-free bet, if it goes 100 points or it goes 3 points, it's still risk-free. And that's really where the work is in trading is that say first 20 minutes of a trade if you're going in for a longer one that where you're really managing the trade to get it to that, to make sure that something doesn't. I mean, you're managing it to get to that, and you're managing it not to make sure that you don't do something silly. And that's basically that.
There you go. All right. Well, why don't we look to sort of draw to a close here over the
Yeah.
because we as I said, this is the last one of season three, and
Mm.
we started with really good intentions this season to try and keep them to about 20-25 minutes, and really that has just gone by the wayside. And to be fair, as we've discussed, haven't we? Once we get started, and once you get on the high horse, etc. We chat away and stuff, and we could chat away for hours and stuff, but. Listen, we do appreciate that those of you who've joined us, and I hope that you enjoyed these conversations. So, in terms of today's session, listen, as we said, it's sort of constraints. They can be a gift, all right? Flip it. They kind of use them to strip away the distractions and expose what truly matters, and use your limits as a structure to build strength not an excuse for inconsistency. All right, just flip the script. All right, find a way to turn it into a winning position for yourself. And I don't mean that in the trade. I mean that in terms of how you conduct yourselves. All right. So as I said, this is the end of season 3. There is the bonus session on trading double tops and bottoms. I hope you'll join that. Okay. What we have tried to do in this season 3 is we tried to, we asked people what did they want to see, and hopefully we've tried to cover as much as we can in amongst all the other elements. And we appreciate, all those who took the time to basically give us ideas of what they'd like to cover. We also appreciate the people who give us the feedbacks, the likes. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Season 4 will be sometime in 26. All right, we'll get round to it. So if there is topics or there's ideas, then by all means, the email address, I think it's TOGS Trading Podcast at Gmail or just comments and stuff, and we do pick up and we do look at it and stuff. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody, all right, for joining us. Any final comments, Ian? Any final kind of parting message?
None at all, actually, to be honest with you, because I think I'm going to go and have a snooze after this, and then because I have to go quite soon enough to do my school run and bring my son to an appointment.
Boom, boom. You're a high performance athlete, mate. You are a high performance.
Yeah, so that's my day.
There you go. There you go.
That had me.
Well, on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, let's draw it to a close for today and for season 3. Once again, all right. Listen, thanks everybody for joining us. It has been great. We do enjoy it. We really do enjoy the feedback and the comments. Please keep it coming, and hope you have a fabulous remainder of 2025. And keep an eye out for there'll be messages and stuff from Ian and myself. And said have a great 2025 and trade well, everybody. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Bye bye.